Hi guys, welcome to the latest podcast of Yarn and Black. Today I've got a great friend of mine on, Jacqui. Hi Jacqui.
Hi, hello.
Hi. I'll get Jacqui to introduce herself in a second, but just to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that I'm currently on. I'm broadcasting from Borwin Q on the land of the Wurundjeri people, and I'd like to pay respect to their elders past, present, and the future leaders that are coming through. They'll help guide us into the future, and any other Aboriginal people that are joined us in for today. And I also want to acknowledge Jacqui. So Jacqui, hi, I'm so glad you could join us.
Hi, hello.
So so tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? Where you're from?
I'm Jacqui. I'm Jacqui Burns from far North Queensland, North Queensland. So I'm originally from Ingham. My mum, my grandparents, both grandside, they come from Palm Island. So they Boogerman mob. But I'm currently living in Brisbane. So been here for a brief time, here in Brisbane for the last 7 years. So doing really good. Yeah.
Cool. So for people who don't know exactly where Palm Island is, where is Palm Island?
Palm Island is 47 kilometres off the coast of Townsville. So between Townsville and Ingham, they would recommend that as North Queensland, or we are just on the toes of the rainforest.
How's the weather been up there lately?
Pretty terrible. Terrible. So we've had our heat waves, we've had our rains, we've had two cyclones. Brisbane, we've copped a lot of heat waves, so we're surviving. Yeah, we're surviving.
Cool. So where did you grow up? Did you grow up in Queensland or did you grow up in Melbourne?
No, I actually grew up in Queensland, far North Queensland, growing up and raised by my grandparents. They were from Palm Island, so mother, who's grandma, I call them mum and dad. They used to take us over in Palm Island, make sure that we hung out with our cousins and our aunties and uncles, and we got to know who they are, who our mob are. So, was one of those kids that went over to Palm and then head back to Ingham. Ingham was my birth home. So, and that's birth home is Nawagi people. So, of Ingham, Nawagi people, and that's also Palm Island. So, yeah.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about Palm Island. What's it like?
Palm Island people, there's about population would be about 5,000. We call ourselves, or the mob there on Palm Island, they call themselves Boogerman. Boogerman means many tribes. Yeah, many people, one tribe. So Palm Island is a beautiful, beautiful, tropical, $1 million sea view. Yeah, so they get there. It's right on the Great Barrier Reef. So so a lot of fishing, a lot of sun, a lot of sea. A lot of culture. Especially to do with Indigenous South Seas and island ways. So yes, so Palm Island people embrace island way and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander way over there. Yes.
Yeah. So I met you probably about 15 years ago.
Oh yeah, we worked together.
Yeah. We did work together. And we got into a lot of trouble together, giggling a lot.
In a great way, yes.
Yeah. So what brought you to Melbourne?
Melbourne. So when I first I finished school in Gilroy, Santa Maria, that was in Ingham, and mum and dad said, "What are you going to do with yourself?" And I said, "Oh." So I decided to be a school teacher. So I was a teacher aide on Palm Island, and then 2004 I then came to Melbourne. I went to the University of Melbourne and to complete a Bachelor of Early Childhood Education. And when I came there, so I lived in Melbourne for about 12 years. So and met many other Curry mobs, Curry people. So so I learned a lot. I actually did. I learned a lot from the Kulin Nation people. and got to learn a lot from from the city life and from country life, lifestyle too. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. We'll let the rest of the listeners know though that how big was our office that we had to share?
Holy, it was so. Gee, I'd say it was 3 meters by 4 meters.
Yeah. I
Probably.
think both of us couldn't move our we both couldn't move our chairs out at the same time without hitting into each other.
I remember eating every time when I eat pistachio. I remember us sharing a bag of pistachios and us throwing it in our mouths and me trying to catch it.
Yeah. And then us bursting and laughing, and then the CEO coming in because the office was next door going, "What is happening in this room?"
Yeah, and with my laugh, Jacqui Burns' laugh, I just let it go. I let it rip. Us black fellas, we can't help it. Laugh.
No, we had to have fun in that little office.
Absolutely, absolutely, we did.
And then they moved a third person in. Remember?
Yeah, she was awesome. She rubbed a little.
And we couldn't move at all.
Yeah, that's right. That was awesome.
So you're living in Brisbane now. What job are you doing up there now?
So I work in southeast metros. I work at a hospital. So I'm a wardsman. Also, they actually call us how do you call it? An RP. So as an RP, I'm a relief person. I cover a lot of people's work shifts, but covering basis of wardies, helping in, it's like sort of like, how do you say, first attendance, first response as first aid, running around with first aid trolleys and stuff like that, and also casual cleaning, yeah, so isolation cleans and stuff like that. So yeah, so do a lot of that as well.
Cool. And do you love it?
Awesome, I love it. I think it's my retirement job now.
Beautiful, beautiful. What's the difference between living in Brisbane and living in Melbourne?
Well, Brisbane is warm, sunny. Melbourne?
Yeah.
Oh, look, seriously, I miss Melbourne. I miss that kind of lifestyle. Yeah, I really can't see a comparison. They're both great places. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I ask you a couple of questions? Like, we've just had a referendum recently, but what does reconciliation actually mean to you?
Reconciliation means to me diversity, embracing my culture and embracing who I am. Yeah. That's.
Yeah. Do you think reconciliation's changed at all since the referendum?
It's a really tough question there. I think we get challenged every decades. Going back 20 years ago, it was like we were still fighting to be recognised, Yeah, it's like that last recommendation that we put in, it was like, yes, we get acknowledged, but then, yeah, it's like a stigma. Yeah, it's like it's just a stigma to trying to sort of embrace and acknowledge Indigenous people from all over, Australia. So yeah. So from the moment of course, when the voting, had happened, we were questioned, and a lot of non-Indigenous too. We all sort of we got together and we spoke about it. I think it was a lot of non-Indigenous people, they sort of they understood what was happening, and working in a hospital, it was I think they do understand, and we do have sort of an understanding. So yeah, I'd say it is getting better. It's not in the way that I really want it to, as in fast and immediate, And I do hope that it will get better and better in time.
Yeah. What are some stereotypes around Aboriginal culture that are still out there that you'd like to see addressed?
The stereotypes are still happening. Oh, it still exists, like in my occupation. I'll give you a little bit of a scenario, old boomers, have saw me as an Indigenous worker, and I'm speaking nice and polite, like Harvard voice, Hi, how you going? My name is Jacqui. I'm your wardie. I'm going to take you up to see your nurse. And the first thing that they say is, oh, you're Indigenous. You don't talk like one. So I say, I beg your pardon. I do. But what do you mean by that? And they've gone, oh. So it's like pressing buttons, yes, and seeing how much are we. So I do find it a little bit insulting, these old boomers. They see a strong Indigenous woman talking, being clear, being polite, and I just don't understand why they put two baskets differently to Indigenous people and other Indigenous people. I just wish that they would stop doing that and see what the meaning of what we were all supposed to be doing. Yeah, we're not just one, this negative input that a lot have tried to, think that we are. Yeah.
Now, one thing we were talking a bit about before the recording was that whereas we've been friends for a long time, you actually came to one of my first mental health first aid workshops that I delivered, or the second one. But you walked away with so much from that.
Sure.
Would you like to explain to people what you did walk away with?
I walked away like, I am so grateful, and I appreciate that. Like with first aid and mental health, I think a lot of people really need to understand that a lot of people, like in those kind of situations, scenarios, especially with mental health, comes in any kind of different way, shape, sizes, forms, different environments, different nationalities. And a lot of it, like ever since I've come into different like careers and things, I've actually seen it. I could sort of like, if I see someone very upset and thing, it's like, how a lot of people, they judge and they go, oh, I don't want to be there. I don't want to touch that, where others will, like, I will gently address it in a cordial way. So by providing those kind of, delivering those kind of formulas for me to address, I take that into an insight. So especially working in a hospital, because hospitals are where people are sick, and you just got to have the patience and the skills and the words to sort of like to allow that person to open themselves freely, because mental health can affect people in a lot of ways. So so thanks, AJ. And I still read those books. I still practice what you said today.
Ask you a question. Growing up at school, how much Aboriginal studies did you actually learn at school?
There was really not much. There was not really there was like, it would have been just like, I was only talking to a cousin last week, and I said, remember when we used to have these like we didn't even have Indigenous people coming into our classes. We had white people coming in with our Aboriginal artifacts. And so that was the kind of things that I experienced going to school, especially like with primary school and high school. So we don't really have much of like, that Indigenous Aboriginal, like, teachers. It was always a white teacher coming to us, or a white person with some kind of Aboriginal culture artifacts. And it was like, then I'd go home and I'd say to Mum, meaning my grandmother, Mum, such and such, they found Aboriginal rock there at such and such's farm. Mum's like, that's wrong, Dad. They shouldn't be doing that. They shouldn't. What made that school tell them white people to go in there? So these are the kinds of things growing up, that I saw that is different today, that now we get to have Indigenous people that go into schools and, the real deal. Yeah, we've got the real deal that's happening today. But back when I was going to school, we never had the real deal. And to me, it was quite insulting, and it was like a slap across my people's face, our ancestor face, and it was like, our culture is not just a trophy just because that you had these axe stones or some kind of a artifact, that it wasn't just for a fun thing,
I ask you a question. What does being an elder mean to you? When does a person become an elder?
Oh, it takes a lot to be an elder. Got to have that leadership, got to have that skills, you got to have that, that soft voice, or that authority voice, like that, have that auntie with that authority voice. A leadership can come in any ways of all sorts, you got to have that motherly or that auntie or that sister understanding. That's how I call an elder.
Yeah. Another question I was going to ask you, have you experienced racism before? And if so, what happened and how did it make you feel?
Oh, racism comes in any shapes or sizes or forms, Racism comes every year, How I try and deal with it, I grow from it. And in return, I teach them and I educate them back, Like I was saying, we still get these old boomers. They have a bit of a dig and try and press people's buttons like mine. And at the end of the day, I have to tell them, bring them down and say, at the end of the day, you got to understand that you're here on this beautiful land, and we're all here, to respect it. But at the end of the day, the land owns us. We don't own the land owns us. And I think these old boomers, they just don't understand that we're very more spiritual than white man's greed. So that's the way that I see that racism. It's still around, still lingers.
I remember when I was working with you, and I remember coming back from the shop, because we were actually, where we worked, had the shopping centre there. And I remember coming back being upset one day when I was in the shop because somebody saw my T-shirt that had the name of the gathering place that we worked on it and kind of had a go at me. And you were you said exactly the same thing. AJ, calm down. It's not you, it's them. And you're putting into a perspective that they were the one with the problem. It wasn't me with the problem, even though I felt like I was the problem.
That's right. And I say that all the time, and I still say it today. Sometimes our spirit upsets their demons, and we just got to bring them down. So, so that's how I have to address it now without, like, if that was going back 20 years ago, and we were 30, like we are now almost 50 now. So being in that age, who knows what we would, have done, either been angry, bitter, selfish, and then taken that away. And, that's how I've had to, between us, what we've experienced and what we witnessed. I think for us to embrace it and to tackle it and to address it in that way, I hope that person that says those things goes back and saying, right, that person put me in my place and put me in my box. And that's how I sort of calm it down.
hey, if I could give you zillions of dollars to try to fix something in for the Aboriginal community, what would be the first thing you'd want to fix?
The first thing I'd like to fix, education.
Mm,
Going back to the heart of where it all started in my life, going back to education. Yeah.
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 Do you think when you studied education, how much Aboriginal perspectives were taught in the course that you were learning?
Not much. Like there was like subjects, but it just didn't. You know when you know that something that you see will stir your heart and you know, and you get that prolonging of, oh, this can happen and this can work. It was like, yeah, it was just like black and white. That's all it was. To me, it was like black and white, and it still did not drum it into a lot of people's heads because, like, I still see it today. There are a lot of non-Indigenous people that go, oh, I've been to NT and I've been to Alice Springs and I've worked with the Aboriginal people. And it's like, that's not being Aboriginal, you know? So what you worked in Alice Springs, so what you worked in NT. But at the end of the day, I want to know, what have you done for Aboriginal people? You only done it in a part of an area, but what have you done? That's the biggest question I always ask anyone that always tells me those words. Oh, I've worked in Alice Springs. Oh, I've worked in NT. That's the one biggest thing I say. But what have you done to embrace Indigenous people? That's the question they cannot answer. That's the reason. Love to go back to, the education.
Yeah. I can remember interviewing people for jobs at the gathering place, and some people would actually be saying that at the interview. Oh, I worked with the real Aboriginal people in Northern Territory, or I worked with the real Aboriginal people in North Queensland, and it was just like, so what are we?
Yeah.
We're the pretend ones. We're not the real ones.
Oh, yeah. See, and that's what I mean.
Yeah. Now, there's lots of young people finding out about their Aboriginality, but don't know what to do to find out more. What would you encourage people to do?
I've always said to them to go to the state library. I always find lots of Indigenous history that they can sort of like go there and go and talk to the Indigenous tourism, because once they get into that's how I say it. I always tell them to go to the Brisbane Library, we always seem to find a lot of our culture and our history there. Look, even with myself, when I went to the Brisbane Library, I found a little bit about my Chinese history, and also that was on my mum's side, because we got Aboriginal and Chinese on mum's side of the family. We got Aboriginal, Chinese, and English blood on mum's side, and then on dad's side, we got Aboriginal, Malaysian, and Vanuatu. So I got three beautiful different cultures that I got to embrace. That's my diversity, yeah. So, and that's where I found, and that's why I say to people, where to start, go to the state library, have a look around, put your feelers out there, guys. If not, go to the Indigenous community, go talk to, or I'd say, here in Brisbane, go down to Musgrave Park. Musgrave Park is their gathering place.
So one thing people would not know about you, but I do, is that you fostered a lot of kids over time. Tell us what it's like being a foster mum.
Oh, I love it. Every day is a blessing. I never had I've had a child, but to have 24 foster children come into my life, they've given me, I'd say 12 plus grandchildren. Them grandchildren today still. And then I've got one little grandson, he lives here with me, and his name is Ace. So Ace, he's autistic. and he lives with Nanny. So I'm Nanny. So, yeah, so I teach him sign language and I teach him our ways of life. Yeah. So, yeah, so me being a foster mum is the best feeling, you know. Yeah. Good thing, yeah.
Yeah. And you just mentioned 24 foster kids you've had over time. That's huge.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, come and go real fast, and you know, but at the end of the day, these children, they've gone home, belong back to their mums and dads. They still look for me all the time. They say, "Mum, we," you know, they always call. They still respect me as their mum, their auntie, yeah, or you know, or sis, you know, yeah. So in a way, so I must have left some kind of a finger point or some kind of a reminder that at the end of the day, I'm not your mum, but I'm someone that cares about you. And when times get tough, if no one don't love you and no one don't want to help fix you, come back and see Mum Chub. So yeah, that's who they come back to, me.
Yeah, beautiful. So I'm just watching the time, and I know that we have to go in a second, but I've got a final question for you. And that is, what would you like people to walk away with from today listening to us talk?
Learning a little bit about like North Queensland and where I come from. Like woman Jacqui, that's Corey's, you know, you all say hello and welcome. Well, where I come from, we say, well, Brisbane, they say Yowo. And then where I come from, you know, Woolamulli. Woolamulli is where the embracing of hello and welcome or goodbye, you know. So
Wooly-mully.
yeah, Woolamulli. Yeah, so that means hello. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Look, I want to say thank you for joining us today. You know how much I love you, and I was thinking it's been more than 15 years when I was trying to do the maths. I think you're right in your conversation. It's been nearly 20 years. So I want to say thank you very much for joining us. And guys, I'll see you guys at the next podcast. And thanks, Jacqui.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Bless us.
Bye.